Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview, this time covering VCT Americas Stage 1 Media Day. For this occasion, I'm here accompanied by IC once again of Evil Geniuses coming off of their appearance in Kickoff uh, and looking to bounce back in said upcoming split. And so, IC, gotta give my thanks to you for giving me another opportunity this time in said time frame of this year. And so you already know how I do things at this point, but nevertheless, just gotta do the good old fashioned copy and paste in terms of my questions. Well, for the first part, how are you doing? How have you been spending the off season? How have you been spending the break? And how have you spending the kind of post kickoff blues? I would say.
I've been feeling good. We didn't have a great kickoff showing, so we had a short little break after the kickoff games, and then now we're just back into practicing. I feel like our practices have been pretty productive, so we're looking forward to our first game against 2G. I think hopefully stage one, we're going to be showing a much better team than in kickoff because we did not play to our potential in kickoff. We kind of got owned. So
Yeah, even so, like the fact that it was during the very beginning of the year just gives you some breathing room and sort of to just kind of look at what you guys have been doing so far and then, work around that or more so improve from that. And so, you mean, you kind of mentioned it right there. And so in kickoff, so we're gonna have to jump right into it real quick. I mean, looking at the teams showing, you guys were able to finish in top eight, but it came off of a loss to MIBR and then also like the initial opening loss to Loud in, I believe, the very first day of the competition. So
Yep.
just want to ask you how did the how do you kind of look back on the competition that was, and just looking at the team's games against all Brazilian opponents, what do you feel is the biggest strength and obviously biggest weakness that the team presented on that competition?
Um, I mean, the first thing that I think of is, I'm looking forward to playing some other teams. We only play the Brazilian teams, so I look forward to playing some fellow American teams. Yeah, I know the Brazilian teams. We got our win against Furia, and I think Loud and MIBR, they're both looking pretty good in kickoff. So, um, yeah, I know MIBR, they were top three, I believe, and then Loud, they kind of finished like near them. But I think the Loud game, if we started off a little bit stronger in that game, I think that would have set us up for more success. I just feel like we didn't start on the right foot, like with our match against Loud. They were pretty close maps, and I think that it could have gone both ways. But there was a few rounds that definitely like went in their favor that changed our kickoff run. I think with that win right there, it definitely would have set our pathway much easier and probably more success in our kickoff run. But it is what it is. We lost to Loud, and then we ended up playing MIBR and had that second loss. But I think with those losses, I'm not too stressed about those losses. Those are great teams, and I feel like we didn't show our true selves in those matches. So I think going into stage one, I think we'll be showing a much better team and just better strats, better everything. I'm just looking forward to the next games.
And so, with that in mind, what do you feel has been the most important aspects that Potter has been kind of teaching you guys during the break, and just having to like improve at the very least in stage one in relation to what you guys showed in kickoff? What do you think has been the most important thing you guys had to cover so far in this break?
I would say a big thing we've discussed is just like in general, like team play and just supporting the guy next to you. Like I feel like some of the rounds definitely didn't go in our favor just because of like the individualism of like us. I feel like some of our plays we were making we were just not on the same page. So I think a big thing in our like break, like heading into stage one and these practices we've been playing in, I think is a big thing to just play together and just make sure like the guy next to you is on the same page as you because like we were a little disoriented in some of the rounds, and I think it kept like snowballing and just adding up. Like when one round went bad, like the next round, like maybe someone like was like still like stuck on that round, like thinking about the mistake that was already made, or like we just weren't like pressing forward together, and I think that was our big issue. I just think a lot of individual plays. So I think going into stage one, we're just trying to tighten up our mistakes and just be on the same page. That's the biggest thing for us.
Yeah, of course, and one thing that I also want to cover in relation to yourself, I see, is just sort of, the changes to the game and more specifically like changes to your role. Because like this is Valorant, and in Valorant we've seen plenty of like changes being made literally before the start of a given like league or competition and everything else relating to that. So at this point, it's kind of like, I mean, not surprising, but nevertheless, with the inclusion of Waylay, talking about that first and foremost, into the mix. Just want to ask you, as a duelist, playing mostly like Raze and Jet in the competition, or more so in this season so far, what are your thoughts on the agent? Have you been able to play her for a lot of time, I suppose, leading up to now? And do you feel like it also has a presence within this upcoming meta for this upcoming league?
I think Waylay is pretty sick. I was playing it in like some creator matches, like with other content creators, and I was having fun like before it was officially released, and then now it's officially out. So I've been trying to grind it, and I've played it here and there, maybe in some scrims. We don't know. Maybe I'll be playing it on every map. We'll see. We'll see. But I mean, I think it's an exciting agent. It seems like pretty similar to Jet, I would say. So I think a lot of teams will be running it. I'm not gonna lie. Like I look forward to seeing the different comps that people are running. I think it's gonna be viable on some maps. So I look forward to what other people are running because I'll maybe be playing it on every map or maybe won't. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, like it's also interesting to just know how like a duelist looks at a player, looks at an agent like that, because like obviously we're trying to see or trying to get a sense as to like how good of an agent it is, because like it kind of reminds me of like the initial conversation about Tejo and how he was going to be put into the mix in the metaphor kickoff and Masters of Bangkok. And so I mean, what I'm trying to get at though is sort of, given the amount of time you've been able to just sort of play the game, observe the game, and more so also watch other players play the agent in a game, um, how do you kind of look at the overall play style and just sort of how different it is to the other duelists that you've been kind of familiar with so far in your career?
I think it's a very aggressive agent, and I think that the people that will excel are definitely like the aggressive players. I think for me myself, I feel like the agent fits me pretty well. I know people like see me as like system duelist, this like passive, whatever on like G2 people thought of me, but I feel like as a duelist and player, I feel like I see myself as like pretty aggressive at times, and I think that with Waylay, I think it'll definitely it's a good agent for me. I look forward to playing it, and I hope to play it on stage. So I'm looking forward to the time I play it on stage.
No, for sure, definitely understood on that. I mean, one other thing that I want to ask you, sort of now that guys been able to play it for a decent amount of time, I want to ask you, like, where do you kind of look at the current level of the team in relation to where you guys were at the start of the year? And also, I understand that you mentioned about how like you've only been able to play against Brazilian teams, and so how do you kind of look at the team's current level against the rest of the league, in addition to the first part?
I would place ourselves pretty high, just because I mean, like people will see our kickoff result and maybe think of us as like a lesser team. I know people I've seen like ratings of like our team; they always put us pretty low, but I think that like we have potential to be one of the best teams in America. So I'm not gonna like short ourselves and say we're like that seventh to eighth placement that we got. Because I think we're better than that. I think we're gonna show people that we're at the top of the pack of Americas. Because I think we have the potential to do so. So I look forward to playing games and showing people, proving people wrong.
How do you kind of look at the sort of like synergy or more so makeup of the team, more so like the camaraderie of the team, with, as we said, like, or as I mentioned early on in the first conversation that we had before kickoff about like the inclusion of yourself, the inclusion of Ye, and having to like play with those that are already in the org heading into this year. So how do you kind of look at the dynamic nowadays? Do you feel like now you guys are still in the process of reaching the final level, or do you feel like you're like very close to finally unlocking that level that you guys want to be at?
I would say like there's already like some synergy formed, like obviously with the core roster, Superman, Derek, and Nature with our two coaches, like they were all there last year. So I know Superman and Derek, they were also like teammates on Rise a while back. So they have synergy, of course. But I think with me and Ye fitting in, I think like I'm just gonna say it's a work in progress, just because I don't think we've played enough matches to like rightfully say like wow, it's like feeling great. We're at the peak synergy. So I think it'll take a few more matches to probably like warm up to each other and get familiar with like the stage and just like playing with each other next to each other on stage. Like obviously we've had time to practice, so I feel pretty comfortable. Like in practices, it felt good, but then again, we've only played 3 matches, so I would say it's a work in progress just because the lack of matches. But we feel good in practice, so our synergy is definitely getting there.
And at the very least, you guys can build off of what you guys have shown in kickoff, and then go from there, do well on stage one, and then so on and so forth. And so, I see. Well, one more question I want to squeeze in before I wrap this up
Yep.
is, given what you've been talking about the team, and also for yourself, and also like the state of the game infecting your role, uh, heading into stage one, what do you feel is the number one challenge that you feel EG has to overcome the most? And should you guys be able to do that, uh then you guys can do better, bigger and better things.
Um, I would say we just have to overcome the. I mean, this is like a given for any team, but just like hard times in matches. If like things don't go our way, we just gotta persevere and just push past that. Like sometimes like rounds will definitely get unlucky. It's Valorant. Like there's so many abilities, so many ways you could lose a round, and like stuff gets unlucky. So we just gotta push forward past those type of things and just make sure we're all on the same page. Like what I said earlier, just like keeping this energy up and don't like resort to individualism, even though that's a big part of the game, honestly. But I just think if we just like keep our teamwork up, we're gonna be chilling.
Hopefully you guys are able to do that in due time. And so, I see, thank you so much for the conversation. I really do appreciate it, giving me all your answers for this second interview. Hopefully we can have more later on down the line. And of course, I gotta give you the best of luck for stage one.
All right, thank you.